All right, so let's see, a couple of things. First off, let's see, is everybody here yet? Who do we have? We've got some people, not a lot. 5, 11. Okay, so first of all, make sure that you sign up for the exam part 2. So exam 2 part 2, how do you do that? You go to Canvas, right, and you pick this exam information. Let's say exam information 2 actually, and you sign up there, and you click on that, and then that brings you to this statement. This is the top of the statement. You click on this blue link here to sign up. That will take you to the sheet, and the sheet looks like this. So pick a slot. There are not very many slots left because most people have signed up, but let's see who is sometimes here who has not signed up. Yasur and Eva, you haven't signed up, or as of yesterday you had not signed up. I'm not sure if anybody else is here from the other classes, but Erica, you haven't signed up yet. So make sure you guys sign up for a slot. And if none of the slots work for you, then we can talk about it and try to find another slot that works for you. All right, good. But this is worth 30% of your grade, so it's only going to take 10 minutes, right? Just come in. It's not super stressful. It's just going to be me asking you how to solve a few problems and just pretend like you're helping me as if I was a fellow student. And, we'll just work on a few problems that are similar to ones that you guys did from the practice exam, right? Those problems I specified from the practice exam, not all of them, just the ones I said focus on these problems for the study guide. So, sorry, from the study guide. So just those problems from the study guide that I specified for the exam. Same thing, if you guys are prepared for the exam, just don't forget between now and then, and that's fine. You don't need to know more. All right, so yes, you can submit our notes and quizzes. You were supposed to, you can do that until the end of next week. That's fine. You can either come to my office hours and show me. That'd be the best and the easiest probably, right? Or you can take pictures of every page and save them ideally as a PDF and send me those. That's the ideal thing, is to use that CAM scanner app, right? You can just take pictures of a bunch of pages in there and add them all into one, or maybe you might want to do 3 different PDFs. I don't know how many pages they'll let you add, but probably one for all your quizzes and maybe another one for all of chapter 3, another one for all of chapter 5 and 6 together or something like that. Okay, so let's take a look at what we're doing today. Today we're going to cover chapter 10.1 and 10.2 as well. 10.1 we're going to do, it's due next Tuesday, so that's the first thing we're going to be doing. So you have 5 days to do that one, so get on that one sooner rather than later. And then also project part 5, you can turn it in late for full credit on Tuesday. Just email it to me. Some people were confused about where to turn it in, and just email it, that's fine. And then next Thursday, you have 10.2 due. All right, exam 4 is rolled into your final. So exam 4 is really worth about half as much as the other exams, but I just ended up shoving it into the final, so it's one big test rather than waste a class day when we could be reviewing instead. So the final will be about 35% of the final will be chapters 10 through 11, because that includes your exam 4 material, chapters 10 and 11. And then the rest of the final will be about 20% from exam 1, 20% from exam 2, and 25% from exam 3. These are the final schedule times. They're on Thursday, May 21st at 1:30, 5:30, and 7:30. However, I was thinking of maybe having an option and giving you guys a little more time since we're doing it online and I can do that. I don't have this room constraint. So I was thinking about doing it like 1:30 to 4:30 and then 4:30 to 7:30 and then 7:30 to 10:30. That way there isn't any overlap between the exams. And if anybody has any conflicts with this, because of other classes, let me know, and I can, I can leave it at 2 hours or probably 2.5 hours, but I'd rather try to give you that extra half hour just in case, because people, they get stressed out because it's online and you gotta look at stuff and you gotta put things in, and I'd rather just, you won't need that much time, but I want to give you that much time just to take off some of the stress and pressure that people feel about it. So please email me or private chat me if you have any issues with that. Okay. Good. And let's get someone to read this one. Ria, can you go and read this for me? Read the top part too. This is important in bold.
3 more weeks. You have worked hard, don't blow it now. The final is 26% of your grade. Keep up with homework, which is 14% of your grade. In-class quizzes and labs, 14%. Tech labs, 7%. And each exam is 13%, and the final is 26%.
Perfect, thank you, that's good.
The grade is...
Thank you. So this grade is calculated just as a weighted mean would be, similar to the probability distribution or the GPA. So for example, say you had a score of 60 on your online homework, 80% on your in-class quizzes, 75% on your tech lab, 90% on exam 1, 50% on exam 2, and 60% on exam 3, and you want to know what do you need to get on the final in order to pass the class, for example. So actually I already did this. Let me go ahead and pull it up from my other class. That'd be easier than redoing it all over again. So it's just like a weighted mean. So here, all on homework, score of 60 is weighted 14%, so 14 cents. Score of 80 is weighted 14% also. Let me make this larger. Make that larger. And sorry, go to page 4. Oh, page 5. Okay, so if we kind of do that, and then you have a score of 70 for your tech labs, right? So then that would be worth 7%, so 75, and its weight would be 7%, 7 cents, 0.07. Remember, it's not 0.7. People made that mistake. Some people made that mistake on the exam. 7%, 7 cents, right? I like that. Don't forget that 0. And then, let's see, exam 1 was a score of 90, weighted 13%. Exam 2, 50, weighted 13%. Exam 3, 60, score of 60, weighted 13%. And then your final, which we don't know, X, weighted 26%. So if you multiply all these across, and then add them, so it would be 60 times 0.14, if I can do that, plus 80 times 0.14, plus 75 times 0.07, then, and multiply all those across and add them, you'll get 50.85 for all of these up top, and you still have x times 0.26, so 0.26x plus this, and then write in whatever your goal is. If your goal is 70%, then that should equal 70%, or if it's 80% or 90%, you'd put that in there. So then we subtract this amount from both sides, you'll get 0.26x equals 19.15, and then divide both sides by 0.2x, and you'll get the amount here. Here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. That'll make it maybe a little bit easier. So just going to add all these. Actually, there's a even cooler way of doing it. If you, well, actually, no, that won't work. Okay, so yeah, so you're just going to do 60 times, let me clear it first, 60 times 0.14 plus 80 times 0.14 and so forth. And if you do, oh, I kind of messed it up. Double check. 80 times 0.14. If you do that and add all those up, you'll end up getting this 50.85. And then you do obviously 70 minus 50.85, which gives you 19.15, and divide both sides by 0.26. Divide by 0.26 to get what you need to get on the final exam in order to pass. So you need to get a 73.65% on that final exam to pass. So that's kind of how you work it out. Again, it's just a weighted mean, right? Every value multiplied by its weights. And here, since all the weights add up to 1 or 100%, you don't have to worry about dividing them out. And you'll notice that the things that you divide by, the weights, are the things that don't change. Right? So your frequencies or your weights are the things that don't change. The things that vary, your x's, those are the things that you are trying to find. So the weights are the things you divide by. All right. So let's go ahead and before we get started on this, there is one thing I want to talk about, which is your exams, your exam 2. So I've actually been able to look at that pretty closely, and most of you guys are getting like A's and B's, so they were pretty good overall. I haven't looked through checked them with your actual work yet, but I can do that. If you guys don't care about me marking them up and telling you exactly, circling which things you got wrong and making notes on it, then I can just get those graded and give you a score this weekend, like probably Friday or Saturday for exam 2. Exam 3 is going to take longer because it's a giant pain, and I've got to pull up each one and say pull up your file and then pull up the file that I have on you that I've written notes on and do stuff on it. So that's taking a lot longer. It's taking, I'm guessing it's going to take me about 3 times longer than it would normally, because normally the time I put in, I should be done already. And I have 2/3, I lost a third of you, and it's still taking me longer than it normally has. I'm only halfway done, and it's already taking me a lot longer than it should have to grade those. So I'm probably not going to get those graded until Tuesday of next week, unfortunately. However, if you guys are okay with me not marking marking what you did wrong for exam 2, then I can just give you your grade by this weekend, and then later on I can tell you how many points you got for each problem, so then you can go back and figure out which problems you missed, and then you can come in and ask me questions about that. Either probably in office hours would be the best thing. Okay, good. So I'll go ahead and do that, since no one seems to have any objections with that. If you do, private message me, and otherwise I think I'm just going to go ahead and do that. All right, so let's take a look. Chapter 10, our learning objectives. So they are to draw a scatter plot for a set of ordered pairs, be able to do that, compute the correlation coefficient, and then test the hypothesis. So again, chapters 10 and 11, it's going to be all about hypothesis tests again. Everything you learned in chapter 8, you're going to be applying it to other hypotheses that aren't means and proportions, other things. But you're going to do the same steps, the same 5 steps. And then also compute the equation of the regression line and apply that. So that's kind of what we're doing today. Right, so Erica, go ahead and read this one for me.
In addition to hypothesis testing and confidence intervals, inferential statistics involve determining whether a relationship between 2 or more numerical or quantitative variables exists.
Great, thank you. So correlation determines if there is a linear relationship between 2 variables. And the regression talks about the type of relationship that is, whether it's positive or negative, linear or nonlinear. We mostly care about whether it's linear and not so much and whether it exists or doesn't. Those are kind of our main concerns we're going to be focusing on. So we're going to look at answering these questions specifically, which we're going to look at in just a minute more specifically all together. So you guys should have your Chapter 10 notes out. Chapter 10 notes, they look like, if you can see my picture, they look like this. Here, I'll stop sharing for just a minute. Make me bigger. All right, so they look like that. All right, chapter 10 notes. This is what we're working on today. You're also getting your PPMC table, so hopefully you guys have gotten that, downloaded it. If not, do that soon if you can. Okay, so this is the top part of that. These 4 questions, so we're going to look at specifically each of those questions. So, Chris, let me go ahead and have you read the first one here. Go ahead.
Are two or more variables related?
Keep going.
So what is the strength of the relationship? To answer these questions, the participants use the correlation coefficient, a numerical measure to determine whether two or more variables are related and to determine the strength of the relationship between or among those variables.
Perfect. So correlation coefficient is what we're using for this. You guys will learn about that in just a few minutes. And then, Samantha, do you want to go ahead and read this one?
What type of relationship exists? There are 2 types of relationships, simple and multiple. In a simple relationship, there are 2 variables, an independent variable, a predictor variable, an independent variable, response variable. In a multiple relationship, there are 2 or more independent variables that are used to predict one.
Dependent.
Can you slow down a little bit?
Oh yeah, sorry.
That's okay. Predict one dependent variable.
Perfect. Great, thank you. Right, so so you remember from chapter 2 we had independent variables. That's the one you can mess with. That's the one you change and control to try to affect the y, the dependent variable. Remember, the independent variable is your x, the dependent variable is your y, and independent variable is again the one you can control, the one you mess with. Also, that's what we're going to focus on. But there are very often, multiple relationships where 2 or more independent variables predict one dependent variable. For example, you might use your age and whether or not you have your degree of heart problem or respiratory problem to predict whether or not someone's going to get the chances someone's going to get coronavirus. Right? There's a lot of variables. It's not just one thing. It's what's your age, and also do you have breathing problems, respiratory problems, or do you have heart problems, things like that. So there's a few different, and your immune system, sorry. So there's many different things that go into predicting that one dependent variable a lot of times. But we're just going to focus on the simple case. One independent variable, one dependent variable. Keep it simple. Nellie, go ahead and read.
What kind of predictions can be made from the relationship? Predictions are made daily in all areas. Examples include weather forecasting, stock market analysis, sales predictions, crop predictions, gasoline price predictions, and sports predictions. Some predictions are more accurate than others due to the strength of the relationship. That is, the stronger the relationship is between variables, the more accurate the prediction is.
Great, thank you. Yep, so we're definitely going to be doing some predictions at the end, which is where the money is, right? People take a look at, rates of infection and how much things spread and everything else to try to predict how far this coronavirus is going to spread and how quickly it spreads and everything else. And then we try to make changes to adjust that prediction so it doesn't go the way that it would otherwise. So those are all really important, valuable models that we use all the time. All right, so then we're talking about scatter plots and correlation. Scatter plot is a graph of the ordered pairs, x and y. You've seen those before, right? Probably in like 6th grade you've seen those, making little graphs of points. You have the independent variable x, that's the one you can control, the one you can mess with, and then the dependent variable y, which is the one you cannot control typically, or theoretically. All right, so here's an example. constructing a scatter plot for the data shown for a car rental company in the United States. So here's a bunch of data. So each one of these, here's company A. This is company A's number of cars. This is company A's revenue. And what do you think we have more control over? How many cars you have or how much revenue you have? Which one can you control more? Yeah, how many cars you have. So that's our independent variable. That's our X. So that's our X, and then our Y would be our revenue, right? Kind of what that is based upon your X. So we're going to plot it like this: 63.0, comma 7.0. That's going to be this point that represents A right there. So that is him. So first draw and label the X and Y axes, and then plot each point on the graph. So my X's need to cover from here to here. Let's see, from 8.5 to 63, my min and my max. So I have to go at least from 8.5 to 63, at least. And then my Y's are my dependent variable. Those should always start at 0. If you guys remember those misleading graphs from chapter 2, where differences looked a lot bigger because they were, they didn't start at 0. You had a non-zero axis. So really, to show data properly, you should start with Y at 0, since this is your results. And your results should always be compared to 0, so you can really see how much they differ. So we'll take a look at that. Right, so right here, 63.0 and a Y of 7, this is my A right here. This is point A, that's him. So you're going to plot every single point, and you can kind of see it has sort of a positive trend. It's going upwards. So that would have a positive relationship. All right, so here, lab problem 1, you guys are going to do this one. You're going to construct a scatter plot for the data observed in the study. So here are absences and your final grades. Which one do you think you can control more, your absences or your final grade? Which one do you have more control over?
Absences.
Yeah, you have more control of the absences, right? Not entirely with coronavirus, but to a larger degree, certainly more than your final grade. So this is the one you can control in normal circumstances. So this is our X's, and these are our Y's. So you're going to make a graph. You're going to draw a little thing right here, right? And your X's and your Y's. My X's need to go from 2 to 15. So I might just go 0, 5, 10, 15. Don't make it fancy, right? Just count in fives. It's easy. 0, 5, 10, 15 along the bottom. Label it absences. You should label it. And then along the side, your Y's, I need to go up to 90%. And I have to start at 0. Don't forget, I can't start at 40. I have to start at 0 to make it not a misleading graph. So I'm going to do 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and stop there. So once you guys go ahead and make a graph of this, right, just like this, and plot your points. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes, and I'll try to maybe break you guys out into rooms in a second, but you probably don't need it for this.